This is my 2023 Can-Am Maverick X3 DS Turbo. This is the base model. So, I'm here to talk about, should you, as a prospective buyer of an X3, maybe going into 2024, because they haven't really changed too much from 2023 to 2024. The major changes happened with the frame into the 2023 model year. I believe 2022, 2023. But should you be looking at the X3 as a viable model, especially with the new Maverick R out there? Let's take a look. I want to start right here, right at the front of the machine. So when I bought this machine, I had them include a installed winch. So this is the Baja bumper. This does not come with the base model. It's the base model. It's the base model. It doesn't come with any of this. It doesn't come with lights. Doesn't come with the bumper. Doesn't come with the winch. I paid for and had the installation paid for the bumper and the winch. I would normally do that myself. However, I was lazy and didn't want to do all that myself. So the winch. When I had this machine out with my father, it was a couple months ago now anyway, the winch decided to, or not the winch itself, I guess the winch solenoid decided to fail and actually sucked that line in and just beat the ever-living crap out of the winch. And I'll put up some pictures here and I'll show you exactly what happened. So that was a faulty winch solenoid which caused that. And when that happened, of course, it shorted it out and continuously run the winch until it just burnt out the solenoid. Motor itself on the winch was fine, but the winch was not fine itself. So that was one of the things that failed. I don't put that towards the X3. That was just a faulty part. It was an electrical part. It's 2023. The world is screwed up. So quality control is nowhere near where it has been, especially in the past for electronics. They're not getting better. They're getting worse. That's just my opinion. So let's look at a couple quality control issues that I feel really could be improved with the X3. The first one I mentioned was the bearings, or the bushings for the shocks. And that goes for the front and the rear shocks. They squeak. Mine are not at the point where they're going to start squeaking yet, but every X3 has a squeaky suspension. And in order to rectify that, you need to disassemble basically all of the bushings and then grease them once or twice a year. You shouldn't have to do that. Can-Am, do better. Do better with the bushings in here. They're a steel bushing. I'm sure there's some brass components in there for wear. However, there's much better bushing components out there, roughly for the same price as what you're building this machine for, in order to eliminate that over time. Springs with the suspension, yes, they're going to sag. I understand that. Every suspension sags over time. As you can see, I do have mine set up. This is a 64-inch wide model. I do have mine set up with roughly around 16.5 inches to 17 inches of ground clearance. They're cranked up higher than what the recommendation or specifications for this setup should be. I drive a lot of, gnarly trails sometimes, and I would much rather not slam the bottom of that machine that I paid a lot of money for, and have to deal with a little bit of, extra suspension adjustment over time, and have to deal with that sag, because they will sag over time. Quality control, that shouldn't be loose. It's just the design of it. That's just how it is. It's the same with over the other side. On the insides of the door, for what you pay for, and I mentioned this the day that I got it and did the kind of break-in ride review, you don't get these. These I put on aftermarket. These are Tusk door handle latches, because you get a freaking piece of, what is it, like webbing to open and shut the door. You don't get bottom door halves with the base model, or I believe even with the expensive models, you don't even get that. Just fit and finish of the overall machine, I believe can be better. The center console, it shook like nobody's business. What I ended up having to do is I put some rubber, actually it was an inner tube, that I cut up and put underneath the holders for these plastic grommets in order to stiffen this up. Now, I didn't do that with this piece in here, the cup holders, yet. But you can see, like, why does that move? And you can hear a little bit of a squeak right there if I do that. Like, I don't understand. Why couldn't you just tighten that up somehow, something different? Put in some different types of fasteners in there instead of having those rubber or having those plastic push pin grommets. Why don't you put more of these in? And by the way, if you own an X3, you better invest in some T30 drivers. And I mean like a T30 screwdriver, a T30 ratchet attachment, some extensions that you can get a T30 on, because this entire machine, T30, 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 on the T30s, it's all Torx 30, I don't know mil, but all Torx 30, everything. This entire machine, all of the plastics are held on with T30s. Overall, okay, so stock seating position. Let's start in there too. So stock seating position on this X3, absolute garbage. It's horrible. I knew that 100% going in because I sat in a stock X3 before I got this X3. I rectified it with bent metal seat risers. I've got 2.5 inch, no, sorry, I've got 1.5 inch seat risers, which brings the back end of the seat up and forward so that when I'm sitting in the machine, if I go at eye level, this is eye level for me. When I was stock, this is what I was looking at. I couldn't see anything. That's me sitting up straight eye level. So now I can see over the hood. The same thing with looking behind you. If you look behind you, this is what you see. Not much. You can't see anything. Now, obviously, you can go all crazy. You can get the accessories like the, the rear view cameras and all this kind of stuff. I opted for mirrors. They work fine for me. There. Another gripe. Egress. Right there. That hard piece of seat pan hurts your thighs every time you get in and out of it. The bottom ends of your legs. Because the seat squishes down and then you hit that solid seat pan. Again, all stuff that can be rectified with money. Basically, you replace the seats. You replace the things that you don't like on the machine. I did it relatively cheap to make this machine a lot more comfortable for me. I mean, a lot more comfortable for me. I'm comfortable driving it all day long. No gripes on it. I can see out of it now. I got the suspension set up the way that I want it to. Mechanical-wise, it's fast. This machine is a wicked fun machine. And I will never gripe on Can-Am for that. Because, I think they make one heck of a motor. That Rotax motor, engine. Electric motors are motors. Engines. Engines are gas-powered. Let's remember that. So, the Rotax engines in them. Perfect. Not going to complain. 135 horsepower. In a machine that's about 1,500 pounds, it's fast. It is fast. I don't need anything faster. However, I will say that I don't know if it was California that, everybody blames California for the emission stuff, but they had that catalytic converter in here. That got so incredibly cherry red hot that I knew I had to do something. Luckily, my channel sponsor, RPM, stepped up. They provided me with this test kit for this 3-inch chambered muffler system, which you can find on my the install on my YouTube page here. That had drastically reduced all of the heat issues I was having. You couldn't even put your hand right here, and it was so hot. When I'm running, I come to a stop, I can almost touch that pipe. That's how much of a difference that 3-inch chambered system made on that X3. So I've had this X3 for about 6 months now. It's about 1,000 kilometers on the odometer. I've got roughly 50 hours. It's actually going in for the 50-hour service at the dealership. Normally I take care of all the maintenance myself, but however, being warranty end, as in Canada, we only get 6 months worth of warranty on this without purchasing aftermarket warranties through Can-Am. which, you know, it might be a good idea to look into, and I'll give you some reasons why. However, being somewhat mechanically inclined myself, I do a lot of my own maintenance and feel confident with any of the components that I feel are going to go prematurely on this machine, I will be able to take care of. So let's talk about that. I've had this for 6 months now. So there's been some stuff off camera that I haven't discussed on this because it was during the warranty period, and I wanted to give this a chance. I wanted to give the dealership a chance. So first thing right off the bat, I had this for about 2 weeks, and the primary clutch bearing went. Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise, and it wasn't anything that I even thought of would go, really. The primary clutch bearing being that bearing that the belt rides on when it's in neutral. So you have your primary that's spinning constantly, then your belt, which is on that clutch bearing, freewheeling, and then, you know, the belt goes to the secondary. The secondary doesn't spin. It only spins when you start to engage the clutch. Everything starts to tighten up that belt and start everything spinning. So I was at a run 2 weeks into this ownership, and a guy said, "Hey, your clutch sounds a little bit loud. You should get that checked out." And he had an X3, and his X3 didn't sound like my X3, so my X3 was a little bit loud. I could hear it actually in the intake, which is right here. So this is your clutch intake right in there, behind the driver's head, so it actually made it a little bit more noticeable. I sat in his and said, yeah, it's different. So I took it back, and sure enough, bearing was bad, right from factory. What else went wrong? A couple things. Very, very squeaky suspension, or what I thought to be a squeaky suspension. And then we'll get into some of the quality control issues that I found with this machine in a second here. Realistically, the second thing that actually went wrong that was a warrantable item on this machine was I had some starting issues with it. So it started not starting every time I pressed the start button. So this would probably be about 2 months ago now. It's been resolved ever since. But what it turned out to be was a faulty fuel pump relay. So when you turn, there's no key, when you press the start button on to power up the accessories, power up the machine, power up the ECU, there's a relay that powers the fuel pump. What was happening is the relay wasn't working all the time. It was only working 3/4 of the time, so sometimes I'd go to press the start button after everything was kind of powered up, and it wouldn't start. It would just roll over, and then eventually it would catch because the fuel pump would be running every time you're pressing and holding the start button. So that was another warrantable item. Haven't really found anything else within that 6-month warranty period that I would deem to be a warranty issue to deal with the dealership. I did take it back for a third time in between those two issues to deal with what I thought was a suspension squeak. Now, I knew these machines squeaked. They all squeak. The old Mavericks squeak, like the OG Mavericks, the original Mavericks, they squeak. I thought the suspension was squeaking quite bad on this. Turns out it's somewhere underneath the steering wheel dash. It's somewhere underneath there. I get a squeak every once in a while. You can listen to brand new, or videos with brand new X3s on them, 2023, 2024. Doesn't matter. I'm hearing the exact same, what sounds like to be a suspension squeak, and I'm sure that these will over time, once bearings start to wear out, is high-pitched squeak every time you go over a bump, and it seems to be concentrated right over this side. And that's exactly where it is. I haven't really pinpointed it down yet. I've kind of put some WD-40 underneath there to try to stop that, but we'll see. It's something I can live with. I knew this going in. I knew it was going to be a bit of a squeaker. It is what it is. It's a performance machine. So, overall, you know, it's little gripes for me. It's little gripes. The machine itself, fantastic machine. It has gone anywhere I've asked it to go. In some places, it surprised me. So, you, as a prospective buyer, looking at a 2023 leftover now, or a 2024 Can-Am Maverick X3, and any of the trims, mind you, it doesn't have to be the DS. This is the base, again. You know, yeah, absolutely. Go get one. Go make a deal right now. If you can get one, get one. Haven't sat down in the Maverick R. It's not a machine we're going to see a lot of around here, if any. I don't even know if the dealers are going to be bringing them in around here, because we're on the east coast of Canada, and it's just not our style. It's just, yeah. It would have to be a special order if we're going to see one come through, but I'd be interested in it, but not for me. But anyway, one heck of a good machine. Can-Am, I think he did a good job, especially with all of the updates over the years, 2023 into 2024. I'm really hoping that this is going to last me a long time. Overall thoughts. Well, let's see. Is it going to be as reliable as my Yamahas? My Yamaha Grizzly, my Rhino? Probably not. Do I enjoy driving this more than any of my previous machines? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely I do. I'm real happy with it. I like the ability to take a passenger with me and have conversations as we're going down the trail, fast or slow, doesn't matter. Anyway, those are my thoughts on this machine. At 6 months of ownership, 1,000 kilometers, around 50 hours on the hour meter for the engine, would I do it again? Yeah, I'll do it again.